Welcome to AllView 360, All Things Real Estate Podcast, with your hosts, Daniel Gutierrez and Shannon Dempsey. We explore real estate from every angle, giving you insights, tools, and confidence to make smart decisions that support your future. It's time for a new perspective on property. Welcome to AllView 360. I'm excited for today. David's one of my favorite people, so I know it's going to be fun.
So Dave is the general manager of Trustie Co. Trustie Co. is one of our preferred vendors, a general contracting maintenance service company that we use for everything from small maintenance issues to large turnover and construction projects. Dave is the general manager, and we're bringing him on today to discuss something that I think has some huge misconceptions in the industry. I blame HGTV and all of the fake shows. Entertaining nonetheless, but fake.
They're real shows.
Sure. Real shows, fake prices. And we're bringing Dave on to talk about repairs, construction, the cost of it all, how it actually works, and really helping educate our listeners in regards to some of the best practices, what to look out for, why things are the way they are, and ultimately just how to succeed in this aspect of real estate. A little bit about Dave. Dave has an extensive background in construction sales, rentals, very long background in property management as both a property manager and COO of a fairly large property management company, and has done, a few thousand turnovers, work orders, maintenance projects over the course of your career. I know I probably didn't do you justice, Dave, but tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks for having me on, Daniel and Shannon. I've seen you guys, seen this podcast. This is actually my first time doing a podcast, so very exciting. Just like Daniel mentioned, I've spent the last about 15 years in property management. Started with a small company where there was only 3 of us, so we had to do everything. So had to learn pretty quickly. From there, doing obviously all the maintenance stuff there, went on to do operations. And I was just telling a client this morning that I was even going down to like Mexico, Nicaragua, and training the remote staff down there how to be maintenance coordinators. So when it comes to property management, working with homeowners on maintenance, I think I have most people beat in that experience realm, especially when I'm talking to other property managers. Most of them want to hire me and have them do their maintenance, but they can't afford me.
Well, I think the unique thing here and why Dave is kind of uniquely positioned for his role and what he does with us at AllView is he understands real estate on a level that most contractors generally don't. He understands what we need as property managers, as brokers, as agents, as investors and developers, and he takes a very owner approach to what we do, and it's been a huge help across the organization.
Yeah. In general, Dave, what are you seeing with California construction costs, and how has that changed over your 15 years and really in the last couple of years?
Yeah, so it pretty much gets divided right around the pandemic, as everyone knows. People are still talking about lumber prices. I think the biggest change that I've seen is really on the labor costs, which kind of trickle up from there. So slice it however you may. When labor rises, so does your workers' comp. So your workers' comp is based on the wages you're paying. So, essentially almost 20 cents on the dollar is going towards workers' comp, people that are doing it correctly. With that, of course, your general liability, your commercial auto policies, especially in California, have jumped up, 30% since 2020. So all those overhead costs, especially for people running a legitimate business, has to get factored in somewhere, and it gets passed on to the consumer. And a lot of them don't realize that they understand, like fast food workers now get paid $20 an hour in this state, but they think, someone working in my home is not on that level of skilled labor yet. And they expect to still pay those entry level wages for what is actually skilled labor and all the overhead that goes with it.
Yeah, the construction trades are very skilled labor. If not, they probably shouldn't be doing it. But these are people who are skilled at what they do, and it's their trade. I think our society got away from that for a long time, and then you had to go to college for everything. If not, the societal norms were that you weren't going to make it. But that's why you see handyman billing out $150 an hour these days.
Yeah. Yeah, even at our rate of 110 an hour, that's 220 something $1,000 a year. And people think, oh, that's what the tech must make. Well, you got to understand there's also the downtime, the windshield time, driving between locations, and all the overhead that goes along with it. Even if they go to your house, a lot of times on the first visit, any trade, whether it's HVAC or plumber, a lot of times they don't know the full situation until they get there. So there's the time involved in going there, having to go to the parts store. Maybe there's a second appointment needed. All that time adds up. Depending on the contractor, not all of it's actually even billed. So some may have $150 an hour, but they're only billing you for time at the house. Some may be 110, but they're also billing you for the time to go get the material. Some even add in the cost onto the material as well. So it all kind of evens out in the end, but there's definitely a lot of sticker shock dealing directly with homeowners. And being a property manager, that's always like the first point of contention. Property managers, I feel that, even working with ones that have been in this industry a long time, they feel that one of their greatest values they can give their customer is the cheapest price. And, they're not helping our cause by helping and educating the owners as to why, these costs have risen. Everyone has heard this. Oh, 20 years ago, someone did that for, half the cost. And they don't understand all the things that have gone into it in the last, couple decades.
Yeah. Not to mention even gas prices, because I know that kills us in every aspect of our business.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, it's not 20 years ago anymore. It's kind of crazy looking at the cost of materials, not to mention labor, but just materials are so high.
Yeah. And, some contractors add, fuel surcharges to their invoices too. Some just add it into the cost. And, people see it, the consumer sees it one way or another.
And can we take a step back real quick? And could you give us a breakdown on Trustie Co, about the company, what it does, and kind of clients you work with and what you do for them?
Here at Trustie Co, we only work with real estate professionals. So your property managers, your real estate agents, brokerages. There's a total separate market for dealing directly with a homeowner. And generally, a homeowner off the street, I always say, like, if you were to open up the phone book and pick a contractor, you're going to pay a higher rate because that contractor is looking at you as one sale. Whereas where I'm looking at a property manager customers, how can I provide the most value to what they want and also continue to generate business? So I don't always want to go in at the highest price that, if they were to call someone on the phone book, they would get that higher price. I'm playing the long game here, trying to add the value of the ease of working with, knowing what they're actually looking for, dealing with the tenants, doing quick turnarounds, and the things that are important to a property manager, and keeping the cost low, which is it's a difficult balance. And most contractors don't do both. They're either working direct with homeowners and they're commissioned salesmen that are other people in the field, or they're working with contractors such as myself that don't advertise to the homeowner because that's a whole other headache, whole other ball game for someone like me.
Yeah. And licensed and insured is a huge component too, because I know for us, when we're referring contractors or handymen, whatever, to our clients, if they don't have the proper insurance or the proper licensure, it could be a liability to us. And, we tend not to work with those vendors. I remember even we had a recent issue in one of our rentals in San Diego, where the Home Depot installation,
Lowe's.
a Lowe's installation guy
Yeah.
installed a dishwasher incorrectly, and it flooded our unit and the neighbor's unit. And the guy, like, he says he doesn't have insurance, is completely dodging us. We've now gone to Lowe's and the company they contract with. Everyone's pointing fingers at each other, and ultimately our clients and AllView is kind of stuck holding the bag, and it's a really bad situation. So when people say, why can't you just get someone at Home Depot to do this? There's a lot of reasons why we can't do that. And by Home Depot, I mean the people standing in front of Home Depot. With the Lowe's situation, was actually the Lowe's installation team. But yeah, using licensed, insured contractors who really know what they're doing is super important for us. I know, Shannon, for you, or even just anyone in the brokerage space, if you deliver a request for repairs from or bid from a guy who has it on a napkin. That's literally happened to me. I was doing a deal in Costa Mesa.
We know.
Yeah, doing a deal in Costa Mesa, and the agent's like, "Oh no, I'm going to have this guy fix the air conditioner, the HVAC system, the whole system." And the bid was literally written out on like almost a napkin, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not accepting this. This isn't okay."
Well, for us in the brokerage world, we will write in for the request for repairs to be completed by a licensed contractor. There's really little wiggle room there for all of the reasons that you just said.
Yeah, it's amazing still, especially, property management's an old profession and people are stuck in their ways. You go to enough property management offices and you realize that they're never going to change anything. And it's tough for someone like me to go in there and compete with their unlicensed handyman who's been doing the same thing and never had an issue. It's one of those things where it's not an issue till it is an issue. Uh, Bigger
And the
companies
issues are
above
big.
you that do things at scale, like realize this, and the savvy homeowner and the savvy investor realize this as well, that it's really not worth that extra $40 savings here and there.
True.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Dave. How do you, I mean, you've always worked with property managers. What different angle do you take there in the rental property management world versus dealing with a vendor on someone's private home? I'm assuming you prioritize things differently.
Yeah, so I get a lot of leads for private homeowners, and I just tell them that I can't help them. It's a totally different game. So even the contracts are different. In California, when you're dealing directly with the consumer, there's different disclosures you have to give them. I'm sure you guys have seen it. It's like the 3-day right to cancel. There's different restrictions on payment and down payments. So I kind of just not deal with all that. There's a time and place for that, especially doing on real estate transactions where I am working with the agent, but I'm actually working for the homeowners, the actual customer. And those requests for repairs, when it does get to that, we do have to use a separate contract. But the whole approach is different. When I'm working with property managers, I'm not making a sale, I'm providing a service. I feel like whenever I deal directly with a homeowner, even like when we're just doing like shared projects, like a fence, or right now we're doing like a paving thing in an apartment complex that butts up to another one. That owner also wants to have theirs painted or paved and painted as well. I really have to just sell them on the service. I know they're going to get multiple bids on it. I could even be a referral from someone who's used me before, but it's still that they're always going to kind of go with the price and they don't really see the value in someone like me where they can get someone else to do it and someone will tell them like, oh, I can get someone for half the cost. There's always someone that's going to be able to do it cheaper. They always talk about the pyramid, the three legs. Do you want a good price? Do you want, quality service? Or do you want it to be done quickly? Pick two. And it's difficult to compete on all three, especially when you're dealing with a homeowner whose goals may be completely outside of that. They're just trying to do the cheapest thing possible or get the best price regardless of other factors.
How often do you have to, or are you challenged on costs? Like when you know a job would not be done properly, are you going head to head with the homeowners if they're pushing back on certain things? Because I'm assuming you follow code and
Yeah,
actual
exactly.
regulations.
So I just had something like this come up. So it was actually a rebuild from a water leak. It was into a like a finished garage area from a bathroom above. And I got the scope from the insurance company. As insurance companies know, there's like 10% profit in there if you do it by the book. So I really don't like doing these jobs. However, like as a vendor for our good clients, I will. But the problem was when they removed the drywall in the downstairs area, the wood was completely rotted from termite damage. The house is 70 years old, and insurance isn't going to pay for that, right? They're only going to pay for what the leak had damaged. The termite wood, the ongoing disc keep of the property, they're not going to include that. So I had to tell the homeowner, hey, like we actually need to reframe this area. Like you can't even hang the drywall to this, and it's going to be an added cost. They try to get the insurance through. The insurance obviously is not going to pay for it. They had another bid from another emergency services contractor that does insurance work, and they said that they would do it for the insurance rate. Well, I said, hey, I don't feel comfortable doing it because if I'm going to do it, if I'm going to put my name on it, I want to do it right. I don't want, it doesn't help you or I both to have me come back in here in 3 months when the job doesn't look right.
The difference between doing it right and then putting that lipstick on the pig.
Yeah. What about expenses? So what are the most expensive repairs that homeowners ignore and then you see them become huge problems?
Wow. When was the last time you guys looked under your kitchen sink?
I've looked at a bunch of
Sunday.
others. Sunday.
Even from my time doing walkthroughs and property management, this is probably more of a renter thing. Anytime you'd go and look under the sink, it's just full of stuff, right? Bags, cleaning supplies, God knows what. And you start pulling that out and then everything's wet. And I can't tell you how many times, the garbage disposals have been leaking for a long time and no one's ever noticed it. Sometimes it's the pull down faucet is spraying into the faucet body going right into the cabinet. The angle stops them dripping, but no one seems to check it. The problem is, now we're having a larger issue where it may have spread behind the cabinets and all the lower cabinets have to come out. Insurance may not cover it because it hasn't been something that's been sudden and accidental. It's on that seepage level. I would say
I'm gonna go check my kitchen
Can
sink.
we stop there? Because that is such a big issue that no one knows or talks about. Sudden and accidental is very different than a long ongoing leak. And this is something that has been so painful to deal with over the years. If you have that slow leaking angle stop faucet, dishwasher, whatever that has been leaking for a few weeks or months and just completely ruins your kitchen, then insurance inspector will get there. They're going to look and be like, oh, there's mold. This is spread. This has been going on for a long time. This is your fault. And they will not cover any of it.
Yeah.
Is everyone going to pause to go check their sinks?
They should.
Run
and it's shitty because you expect the insurance company to pay for repairs like this, but no, they're going to put it back on you. And there's so much documentation in your policy that you've probably never read that says if it's not sudden and accidental, it is not going to be covered. So those long drips, like game over. If your pipe bursts and it floods your whole downstairs, they're going to cover it. They won't repair the pipe generally, but they'll cover the flood. But if it's that long, slow drip, or if they see mold, that's going to indicate it's been there for a long time. Game over. They're not paying for anything.
I run into kitchen sinks and bathroom sinks often after the close of escrow because it's very common that like a home inspector will say that they couldn't see under it if it's full of a bunch of stuff. And then when people move out, they'll hit a pipe or, they're just moving everything out, not paying attention and don't turn the sink on until the new homeowner moves in. So that's a fairly common call after the close of escrow. Hey, there's a leak under the sink.
Usually the part that fails is cheap.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even the nicest garbage disposal is a few $100s, but we're talking angle stops, supply lines. These things are $15, $20, $30 and just such an easy preventative thing. And it just escalates, over time.
What would you recommend to people to help prevent that? What should they look for? What are some telltale signs or indicators that there are issues within those items?
Obviously, the first thing, just visual check. Is the cabinet deck wet? Do you see any signs of moisture? Are there drips? You'll see a lot of times there'll be rust stains if you have a white cabinet deck, because that'll be coming, indicate something's leaking from above it. Anything that in there that's wet too. So as I'm pulling things out, I'm seeing if they're wet, because the cabinet deck may be dry because there's so much stuff on top of it. But, there could be cleaning supplies and it's hard to tell, is this supposed to be wet? Is it not supposed to be wet? I usually recommend for people, and a plumber would probably agree with this, you change your angle stops and supply lines at least every 10 years. Every time you're changing the fixtures, change them all out. They're very inexpensive. You're going to touch them anyways. It doesn't really add on to the cost or the time or the labor to do it. It's just a very good preventative thing. There's two different kinds of angle stops. There's the quarter turn, and then you have, I think it's like a press fit one that looks like a egg-shaped oval. Those have a plastic fitting in it that fails a lot, especially if you're turning it on and off.
Nobody does their angle stops.
Yeah, nobody does it. No one knows what an angle stop is. I think when I first saw this, I thought an angle stop was like a trap door somehow. I couldn't wrap my head around what that was. I'm like, oh, it's just the valve.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. But definitely just look at it. If it looks old, crusty, or wet, replace it.
And am I correct in thinking, because I hear these called out on every house in every inspection, it's one of those things that when you need it, if it's old and fails, you're screwed.
Oh, yeah. You got to imagine too, like this is pressurized water. So I've had instances where, tenants hook up their own RO system, which is an absolute disaster waiting to happen. and they go to bed for the night. Now that's like leaving the garden hose on under the sink. And that's coming out at, 65 PSI. That's a lot of water. You wake up and that kitchen's flooded.
Mm-hmm. What about the systems that people are putting in that shuts your water off the second it detects a leak? Do you have that, Daniel? The Moen?
The Moen smart valve.
Yeah.
So I have that across a few of my properties, one of which I installed after the third massive flood, all from different components in the building. I had those little water detector pods, and I put one right next to the water heater. This is a commercial building I have, and I put one right next to the water heater. The water parted around this little device like it was Moses. Like it was like probably 7,000 to 10,000 gallons of water flooded this building.
But not the device.
It literally parted around the device, and the water was flowing fast. So that was kind of the last straw before, at the first few, the Moen Smart Valve wasn't even available, but now it is. Highly recommend it, especially for homes like vacation homes where you're not at often, or super expensive homes where, replacing the hardwood floor is going to be, a few $100,000 on its own. They're between $1,000 to $1,500 to buy, and then about $1,000 to install. You need electricity and a internet connection. But yeah, highly, highly recommend it.
And it shuts all the water off the second it detects a leak anywhere.
A leak, abnormal usage. Like you go take a shower in the middle of the night, and you'll get a notification on your phone. Hey, is this you? If you don't say yes, it'll just shut the water off to your house.
Yeah. What else, Dave? Because that's gold. What else is there that people do not pay attention to, and then you see it be a big problem?
Again, a big thing, especially in the rental market, is I feel like no one knows how to use a shower curtain. On properties, and if there's a shower curtain, 50 times out of 100, the baseboard and the wall next to the shower is going to be damaged. I don't know what it is. People sometimes use a shower curtain that's meant for a round tub on a straight tub and vice versa. Or, they let kids splash in it and they think that the water just dries up on its own. But that's a bigger issue. Like that turns into mold, and then the tenants start having, respiratory issues, or they start claiming things, or they're like, yeah, it's always been like that. Yeah, it's an issue, especially if it's on the second floor. It develops over time, but they'll be like, hey, there's like a stain on the ceiling. And, you're going up to that bathroom, and right on the sides of the tub, it's all calcified and the baseboard's all swollen. You can kind of see the drywall to start peeling. But yeah, that's another big one. I think tenants are less careful when it comes to stuff like that. Even on like these like frameless shower doors now too, you see that as well, because they're meant to not actually touch on the tile, but people think that means that they're still like somehow completely waterproof, and are just very nonchalant about water getting in and out of the shower.
Very splashy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know who's taking a bath in there, how they're doing it. I mean, most of my water gets contained like a pool size around my body, but I don't know what they're doing in there.
You should ask them. Any other tips on maintenance, or what people are doing that they're not doing that could lead to a high cost project later?
Yeah, I think just planning for maintenance. Even my parents are guilty of this. We were just talking, and they needed a new roof, so they ended up selling their house. And it's like, I don't want to replace the roof, I'd rather just sell the house. It's like, okay. But yeah, property management, that was a hard thing for me to talk to owners about needing a new roof. Not every homeowner has to replace their roof in their lifetime. It's not, luckily we live in Southern California, and we have it pretty good. But people are shocked when they have to get a new roof.
Yeah.
Budget for this. It's like, the roof should last, if it's a good roof, 25 years at the most. 20 years, you start to get like deterioration, and you're going to start developing leaks. I would start planning, pocketing money, or at least, have the expectation, hey, when I get around that 20 years, I'm probably going to need a new roof.
Or even roof maintenance leading up to the point that you get a new roof. I don't think people pay attention until it leaks.
It's tough too. Like a lot of roofers, when you call them out there, they don't want to do spot repairs.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's hard for them to warranty it. It's hard to tell exactly where the water came from. Even if you go into an attic and you see on the sheathing where the stain is, that water leak may be, 6 feet away. And the only way to really do it is you have to start peeling back layers, and it gets more and more expensive the more that you do that. So it's even hard to estimate. lot of contractors will put, hey, we're going to do it at this cost of $3,000 or whatever it is for the spot repair. But if we have to go and start removing more to try and find this, it's going to be billed at this dollar amount, the set agreed upon price, and we're actually not going to stop. And I would always tell clients, hey, like I would just assume that this is going to double, right? It may be 50% more, but just assume it's going to double because once they start peeling back, they're going to find tons of stuff. It's always the stuff that you can't see. And, obviously the more sneakier contractor, the less, one that you can trustworthy one is going to be a little bit more seen because you're not going to go on the roof and verify it yourself. Most people won't. So you're going to kind of take their word for it that this actually needs to be done. And you're not going to tell them no when you have half the roof already taken apart.
How about HVACs and water heaters? Because those are two fairly common mechanical issues that owners, investors, really everyone deals with, especially on the request for repairs. I don't think I've ever seen a request for repairs, unless the home is brand new, where the inspector said, oh, this water heater is at the end of its life and it's like 5 years old.
Changing your HVAC filter, I don't even know how many times people don't know. They didn't know it was a thing. That is probably the number one cause for a failure. You get, ice over the condenser. You're pulling more amperage because it's working hard. It's like trying to breathe through a straw, right? Like you run a sprint, you're trying to breathe through a straw. It's almost impossible to do. Your energy bill starts to rise, all these other indicators, but it leads to so many issues. It's like having your air conditioner run on full speed, sprinting the entire time, and people are wondering why it doesn't last as long. It's such an easy $15 thing. Even if you're running on just on heat, change it twice a year. It's such a cheap and easy preventative item. Home warranties love air conditioners, right? You guys know a lot of times it's not included in the standard plan. It's this big upgrade because they know most people don't take care of it, and they're going to get you because they're going to pay just a portion of it. You're going to pay a ton out of pocket that you're not aware of. Don't get me started on home warranties, but
oh no,
I know. That's a whole other episode.
Common failure because people fail to maintain these things and they know it's going to break. And it's one of those things that when it breaks, like you're going to fix it, right? Like you can have, let's say something that a door that sticks a little bit, right? You're going to push a little harder on that door and you're going to live with it. When it's 100 degrees and your air conditioner goes out, you're fixing that.
Mm-hmm. You're figuring it out.
And HVACs are really, really expensive right now.
Yeah, that's another thing that's really gone up in price. Even if it's, made in America, the components are still, affected by these new tariffs. The supplies definitely leveled off as far as availability is gone, but it's still not before like 2019 levels. I think the manufacturers don't want to over manufacture. I was dealing on a commercial job on this, and it's like a 12-week lead time for a package unit, which is crazy. Like imagine telling your tenant at a commercial building that's paying, tens of thousands of dollars a month in rent that, hey, I can't fix the air conditioning in your CEO's office for 8 to 10 weeks. And now you have a problem.
That'd be a problem.
Yeah.
A big problem. What about repair requests during real estate transactions? I mean, I can tell you, I can almost predict what's going to pop up in every inspection. And it's usually the angle stops are number one. It's usually kind of what you've already mentioned, HVAC. If it's not new or within the last, 10 years, it's at the end of its life. Water heater is always at the end of its life. Roof, if it's over 25 years old, it's at the end of its life. Even if all of these things are functioning and the owners had no issues with them, it's just they always get called out. Right now in the current market, because it's a buyer's market, we're having buyers ask for crazy amounts of credit and price reductions for all of these things that are totally fine and working and not current issues. But from your perspective, what items would you address, or how would you go about a $40,000 request for repair when there's really only 3 safety issues that are minor?
Yeah. So if we're talking and representing the buyer, I'm looking for the major things, right? The structural things. If it's on a raised foundation, if there's lots of settling and foundation issues, definitely bring in a qualified person to look at that because that can get expensive quickly, and that's going to lead to other issues. We're currently working on a job where like, oh, the flooring's soft. Well, yeah, because the piers are shot and the snap walls coming down. Like it's a big thing. As far as a negotiating tool, I'll kind of lean back on you guys for that because some things are necessary, some things are a headache. if you have a good contract and get these things and you know you can get them done at a good cost, I would stay away from those and do the larger ticket items. The things that like may cost a lot of money, you're not really sure what they cost, and really try and negotiate on those versus the things that you know you could either do yourself or get done at a fair price, so you're not haggling over the wrong things.
Another one we haven't talked about that's coming up more and more often, both on the purchase and sale and on lease or on insurance renewals, is the electrical panels, and
Oh,
that's a major life
and
safety one.
insurance companies are asking for photos of the electrical panels.
Yeah, absolutely.
No
Yeah,
way,
those
no.
are the polybutylene piping. Polybutylene, I'm thinking of. That was like the largest class action lawsuit in history for a long time. Repiping a house is a big project. Um, if you're going to use it as a rental, forget about it. Don't do it while tenants are in there. But yeah, that may be something worth doing because those are prone to failure. They do cause a lot of leaks. You may have trouble insuring it. Some insurance companies don't want to do a house that has that pipe. Quest is what I think was the name brand on it. So you can run into issues with that as far as like insurability and long term costs on it.
How about the electrical panels?
The electrical panels, yeah. So we're talking about like the Zinscope panels, and I think
Zinsco gets called out, yeah.
Yeah,
GE was
exactly.
part of it too. Like that was white labeled by them. Is your house going to burn down because of it? Probably not. But those panels definitely have some shortcomings to it. I think it was part of the grade of the wiring that they were using and the connections on it. Now, those panels that were made, they're 50 years old now, 50, 60 years old, are not designed to pull the same amperage that a lot of the modern appliances are. You probably see it all the time. Tenants be like, hey, the power keeps going off because I'm running my microwave and the refrigerator at the same time. Like, this seems so normal. Well, 50, 60 years ago, people weren't doing that. So when people are adding three ways onto their outlets and they're running multiple things all the time, then yeah, it's definitely a strain on it that becomes more of a hazard. It's generally an easier fix too. The sub panels have a licensed electrician do it. You're looking probably under $2,000 to do it. The bigger panels is a bigger thing, depending on where you live, getting the permits, getting the utility provider involved as well. That's a great thing to do when you're not living there, right? Make the seller do that. Like, I don't want to go without power for a couple of days and have them rip open my walls and the stucco to do this. Like, no, you guys handle that. And usually, I found that most people do go through that. People claim it's a life safety thing, and yeah, that's definitely one I would do without before I moved into the house.
You know what I just ran into? We ended up not making an offer on the property, but it had like a half basement room, right? So it was built into a hill, so the downstairs was completely underground level, and it was a house that was built in the 70s. You could smell the moisture. You could see at the bottom the
For an F
mold starting. Then if you went in the backyard, you could see that the retaining wall had moved an inch. So that whole house over, I don't know how many years, has slid down. Which, okay, to be expected, right? Something along those lines. But we had two contractors ballpark bid it, and they kind of alluded to what you're saying, Dave. They ballparked it around $200,000 because you have to excavate all the way down. And then but it could go anywhere up to $4. Like, it's just, it could double. And it was such an unknown number, and nobody you didn't know until you dug all the way to the bottom of that house.
Yeah, the contractor is not an engineer. So the contractor should be doing what the engineer tells them to do. And the engineer is always going to err on the side of caution. They're going to over engineer everything. And that's where you get approval for. And that could be way overkill for what the situation is. But now you're stuck doing what they are dictating you do.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the engineering is needed. I would prefer if my house didn't slide
Yeah.
down. So we were managing a big mansion in Laguna Beach a while back, and this was like an 11,000 square foot home, ocean views, infinity pool that was going down like Bluebird Canyon, gorgeous. And the infinity pool was like falling into the canyon. And I remember getting bids for that, and most people are like, "I don't want anything to do with this." But we finally found someone, and it was hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix this. Mind you, the home was like millions and millions. I think it just sold for like $30 million. But there are certain reasons why they did. They fixed the pool. Yeah, but there's reasons why the engineering is the way it is.
And different nowadays. What about, so you do a lot of turnovers and property turns. What would you say the average, like what should a landlord expect to pay on a normal wear and tear type property turnover?
If we're talking about, let's say, like a 2 bedroom, 2 bath apartment, I would say the average turnover cost is about 3,000, 3,500. That's going to cover painting, some small repairs. You probably need to update like the life safety stuff, the smoke alarms, CO detectors, a few minor plumbing repairs, and cleaning. Obviously, that goes up the larger the house is or the longer the tenants have been there. Obviously, the longer they've been there, the more wear and tear some items are going to have. And you may want to just do it as preventative as well. Like you probably wouldn't change angle stops between every tenancy if they're only living there a year. But if someone's lived there for 8 or 9 years and it hasn't been done before they moved in, like now would be a great time to do it.
How often are you seeing appliance issues?
Usually on a tenant occupied one, they're going to let the landlord know. It's rare that you go into a place and the appliances aren't working because if you're renting, you generally want those things to be working and included in the rent. So I don't usually run into many of those. The things I do see are damage to the machines, and it gets really expensive. A common one is going to be like the boot around the washing machine on those front loading ones. People don't, leave the front ajar and it gets all moldy in there. Well, they think that you can just clean that, and it's really difficult too. You got to pull the whole thing apart. The boots are $200-300 a piece. The latches on these machines, both dryers and washers. We just had one where the baffles, the things that look like paddles inside the drum, had broken off. People probably drying their shoes or something heavy, and it broke them all. Well, that was $400 to fix all that.
Well, yeah.
So tenants will live with things, because as long as it's working. So we don't really run into a lot of those things. The appliances that tenants like add on are a big issue. Bidets, apparently after the pandemic, are all the rage.
They
These
really are. They're an issue in real estate transactions too, because it's a fixture, but then people want to take their bidets and people want to keep other people's bidets and it's all
Bidets
weird.
and refrigerator water lines are the number one
Oh
and
yeah.
two
Yep.
biggest causes of floods in a home.
Yeah.
Bidets cause a lot of floods.
Yeah, we were managing a home in Beverly Hills, like 25 million dollar home, Beverly Hills, 3-story or 2 stories up, 1 story down. And the family that was renting it installed bidets, but the Middle Eastern bidets, not the automatic, whatever, more like European or Asian style bidets.
Do you
So
have a bidet?
there's difference. I do have a bidet in my house. Anyway, they installed those. The cleaning crew that they hired didn't know how to use it, and flooded from the second floor to the first floor to the basement. And it was hundreds of thousands of dollars in damage for this little bidet that the cleaning crew that they hired didn't know how to use.
They were clean though, extra clean,
Yeah,
extra
exactly.
fresh.
The problem is too, I think they really gained popularity during the pandemic, I feel.
Yeah, why? Because
These things are made cheaply. So, plumbing fixtures that you
Depending
get
which one you buy.
at your hardware store, they're going to have like UL and ANSI rated connectors on it. So, like the supply line, these things are just cheap and they burst. They're not, especially if you are checking your water pressure, these things are not meant to last a long time. And tenants don't know how to install them properly. They sometimes leak over time and they're not seeing it because it's behind the tank and it's like they have their cleaning supplies in front of it and they don't really notice that it's been leaking. But when it's burst, it's another pressurized leak. And if you're not home, that could get ugly quickly.
is that something that falls on the tenant because they installed the bidet?
If they installed it incorrectly and it was due to their negligence, yes. If the bidet itself fails, it's difficult to say the tenant was negligent unless you have it something maybe in your lease that they were not to do it. But the same thing with like an appliance, whether it's a GE or a Chinese made bidet, there's like a subrogation where they could potentially go after the manufacturer if they find that it's faulty. Again, it's very difficult. Insurance doesn't usually want to deal with it, so they get it covered or not. But it's difficult to blame the tenant for something like that. Homeowners want to do that all the time for everything. Hey, there was a sewage backup, any other type of leak that involved insurance. The tenants wanted to blame the tenants, and the insurance like, well, if you feel you need to, you can sue them, but we're here to cover the property. There was damage under the property by a covered loss, whether the tenants negligence did it or not, it's very difficult for us and it's not worth us to investigate.
Before we go over bidets, so there's the two different ones. There's the ones that's like the whole built-in
He's
toilet,
been Googling
and then
bidets.
the attachment. So the attachments I think are sketch. Like those things they look so cheap, but the built-in ones, the ones that are like the full units, those are nice. And what I'm trying to Google is, and I'm completely blanking on the name, but I went to a friend's house and I
Tested
used
out
the
his
restroom. I'm like,
bidet.
wow, yeah, I'm like, this is a nice toilet. I'm like, very nice. You could tell the quality when you sat down, really. I Googled it and it was like a $20,000 toilet. This house probably had 10 of them.
How did it feel? How did you notice?
Well, because like you just notice, you just notice the quality. Anyway,
right?
No, some of these bidet toilets are like $15,000, $20,000, $25,000. They have a new line that's even more expensive, but they are awesome. The one I have is not
Big
that.
bidet.
It's a built-in. It's wonderful. Highly recommend it for those who haven't tried it. But those are better.
Comment on your below on your opinion on
that. I thought you were searching up like insurance claims or something.
This whole time I was meaning like the attachments. That's what buyers and sellers will argue over bidet attachments.
Honestly, why would anyone argue over a toilet seat? I'm like, take it with you. I'll buy a new one.
I know. And then buyers want to keep them. I'm like, just get your own booty cleaner.
Yeah.
Like, why do you want theirs? But
yeah, maybe it's we won't go into that.
Another contested thing that would come up a lot too are water softeners.
Yeah.
And plumbers will tell you that a water softener is like bad for your water heater, or just because of the way the anodes are supposed to work inside of it. I don't know how true that is. Water softeners, again, it's one of those things where it's really like a specialty trade to work on those things. If you don't understand how to use it and a rental property, the tenants aren't going to fill it up with sodium properly. It regenerates, every so often, and people hear the running water and they just don't think anything of it. So when it's running water that's leaking, they're like, oh, I thought it was just regenerating again. It's supposed to do that. Even I don't really understand how they work and how to service them. But that's another item. Like when I see those and I'm like, do you guys use this? Like, let's just bypass this. Don't use it. Don't turn it on.
Dave, just ignore it.
Really save, but they save pipes and they make everything. Well, you don't get all that hard water residue throughout your house. I have one in my house. I would never live in a home that doesn't have one. And if it didn't, I would install it.
Never. You'll never catch them without a bidet. You'll never catch them without a water softener. Yeah.
Facts.
Could you imagine?
Could you imagine the hard water coming out of a bidet? No way.
No. I need my water soft. I need my toilet seat cushy.
Yeah.
$20,000. Okay, what about remodeling? And how often are you suggesting owners do full renovations on things? I know from my perspective, like pre-listing appointments involve a lot of discussion around, should I do this? Should I do that? We pay attention to ROI. How are you handling that? How often are things getting remodeled?
Yeah. So you guys have done this a long time. Kitchen and bathrooms are usually the biggest ticket items.
Mm-hmm.
I always say try and keep it simple. You want to appeal to the most people. Don't go too customized, especially even like in the bathrooms too. Like what you think is luxurious and high end to someone else may seem, outdated, too dark.
People get wild with the tile.
Yeah, you can get really wild with the tile, spend all this money and not get it back.
Yeah.
Swimming pools would be the same thing. But as far as doing like remodels, keep it simple. Kitchen and bathrooms, new flooring, new paint. Obviously, it needs to present well. The standard stuff. I don't recommend going through and doing new all windows and doors. Those are great too. That's an expensive add-on. If you live in an HOA, that's a whole other process. But when you're showing a home, and if I was someone going to view a home, when I walk in, I want it to feel like inviting, clean, modern. I can picture myself living there. And that's kind of what I pitch to the customers. Like, imagine you're seeing this house for the first time, show it to your friends. Do they all agree that this is a nice house? If some of them like, no, this is too wild for me. Who is a kooky person that lived here before?
Yeah. Hand painted fish all over the.
Yeah. I'm like, I've gone in places with like elephants, like in mosaics on the tile in the kitchen. And I was like, I would probably recommend that on the backsplash. Like, what are you like? I mind like that's a.
It
I
crushes my
yeah,
soul when you
thought
see
it one time, but no.
a house that has costly upgrades that are very specific, some would say hideous. It crushes me because they're thinking, they dumped a bunch of money in this house and
Mhm.
it looks wonderful and high quality and this and that. And I'm like, it's not only is it not gonna sell for anywhere near what you paid for it, people are seeing it as a project now.
Yeah. For
Sucks.
someone who's on Facebook Marketplace looking for used cars, even though I'm not in the market, I see that all the time. You'll see like a nice BMW that's been distastefully modified for like double the price. I'm like, that is hideous.
Can
Like,
we
I would
rewind?
take that
Someone
whole
that's on Facebook Marketplace looking at used cars, but you're not in the market, that's just like a pastime?
pops up. Maybe I am. I don't know. I just like to see what's out
You're
there.
just casually browsing Facebook Marketplace. I like that.
And Dave, you're someone who's done a lot of turnovers for us and a lot of renovations. Your feedback on that is great, and that's how we approach it to the clients too. Is hey, where are we going to get you? How are we going to generate you value? Whether it's on a rental or on a sale, what can we do to actually generate value? Either sell the home or rent the home faster, rent it for more. If it's a rental, we're also looking at longevity a lot. What are the items that we could put into the home that are going to last a long time? Not putting carpet in, putting the like a vinyl plank or laminate, tile, quartz countertops. Like hopefully no one's doing Formica anymore. And your team has done a really good job of getting things done really well and really quickly, because that also kills deals too. We've had the ones where the contractors are, they take all summer to do it, and by the time they're done, we're out of the sales market and we're in a bad position.
Yeah. There's some things too I'd even recommend to clients, especially when we're talking about apartments. It's, hey, is your goal to rent this quickly and get about the same rate as before? Or are you really trying to take this off the market and try and step up, another few $100s a month in rent, on this $30,000 investment? And sometimes it doesn't pencil out. I'm working with a client right now who actually wants all these units, hasn't been remodeled in many years. So as people are moving out, she already has that budget in mind that she wants to spend $30,000-$40,000 on these. And so she's okay with that. Now, not if that's not every client, right? That's like the unicorn. Some are like, hey, just put it back to how it was and let's just get it back out there. So, some clients aren't interested in maximizing the value. Some of these people see this as just this passive income that's out of sight, out of mind. So knowing your client and what they want, like it's almost insulting to go to that client and be like, hey, do you want to spend $50,000? And they'll look at you like you're crazy.
I see it. They usually, I come to the table when someone's ready to sell. And that's usually when I see when it was a rental, then they'll dump a bunch of money into it to get it sold, but not to get it ready for another tenant.
That has always been weird to me too. It's like the homeowner will be very frugal on preventative maintenance, updates, upgrades, while it's a rental for the last 10 years. But it comes time to sell, and all of a sudden they have all this money that they want to put in property that they've never lived in or never going to live in. And then, I think kudos to the agent on that. That's
all new
helpful.
appliances, all new paint. Yeah, everything. It's night and day though. You get, from my perspective, I give numbers of if you do A, B, and C, you'll get this number. And if you don't, you'll get this number. And usually the return's significantly higher when they do that.
Yeah.
But in general, having that turnkey home, because once your home becomes a project, I think a lot of buyers are instantly not interested, and the price drops significantly.
Let's talk about, because Dave, you have a really good reputation specifically with the property management world. What do you prioritize, or why do you think that is? Tell us why you're awesome.
My strategy is to just be as helpful as possible, add a ton of value. I remember when I was a property manager, there were vendors I can call and like, hey, I just need this done. Like, can you do it? And being there for them, knowing that like they need to do it because they have a tenant, they have an owner, they have their even own, supervisor that they have to answer to, and helping them out in that. It's like those small tickets, like these are the base hits, right? And by doing that, when it comes time to do the larger projects, they're thinking of me. They're letting me work with them on price, helping them try and negotiate something within the budget. Whereas if you don't do those little things, and some contractors won't, they'll be like, no, I only do this thing, and completely inflexible. even just answering my phone. Like I tell people like, hey, if I don't answer the phone, like I will call you back.
Yeah, I say I'm
And
sleeping.
such a rare thing. It's like, imagine like how often you call people. Like I only call someone when I need to talk to them, right? Like there's so many other methods of communication these days. I know someone's called me like they need something. They need something that only I can help them with, and that's the urgency that I put behind it. Um, and just being dependable like that. I try and be proactive on the communication. I had a property manager the other day. I did a walkthrough of a house, and he was like, "Hey, the homeowner was asking about the outdoor furniture cushions." And I was like, I didn't really look at those, to be honest with you. Like, I had the punch list that you gave me that I was going to do my proposal on, but he needed something else done there. So I went there yesterday, actually, and I went there and I took pictures of all the cushions. And I sent them with, hey, tell your owner, your client, that you went by there and here's the cushions. They look great. And that's just like that added service that makes them look good. And like, that's not something I needed to do.
No, but the
I think
relationships
that
with
was
the
something that's
vendors.
probably, one of my things I always say is owners love photos and owners hate surprises. So, this is a home that he already mentioned the owners want to move back into in a couple years. So, like, now I'm thinking in mind, like, hey, I want to make sure that there's no surprises and they have the photos. If there is a surprise, they know about it.
Do you have any construction horror stories or like major lessons learned over the years that you always refer back to?
When you're doing demo, expect the unexpected. Whether you're turning off a roof, you're demoing a kitchen, you're pulling out a shower, things are always worse than what you can see. And whether you want to pad your bid a little bit for that, write it into the contract, how the scope can change. But just preparing the client for that, whether it's the homeowner or the property manager, to say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and demo this bathroom. There's some signs I'm already seeing in this bathroom that it could be a mold issue when I take this out. Just so you know, hey, that roof is actually pretty old. I see signs on it. Not that I'm a roofer. I see signs on there that are wear and neglect. And I would just or just this house has termite damage I can see elsewhere. Like I can already tell that when they start tearing this off, you're going to be looking at additional costs to fix this beyond what they're going to be quoting you. So just really preparing the client and just using that experience to kind of lay that foundation so they're not shocked and coming from a place of expertise and experience. Hey, like this is normal. Like I was expecting this to happen when we were doing this project.
What's one that was crazy?
I think finding things that people didn't know were there, like voids in the house. Like this is a closet. Like you didn't know that this didn't go into the other room, and there's this void here, and people are shocked about those things. Like, how long have you been living here? How long have you owned this house? Dealing with neighbors is always a fun thing. They are looky-loos. So you park your truck outside, they always come over. And they're always the, wannabe home inspector, and they criticize everything that you're doing. And they've let themselves into the home. It's the wildest thing.
I wonder, I feel like neighbors, when they know a home's a rental, like I'll come across that they feel like it's their responsibility to check on the rental for their friend that used to be their neighbor, or vet the contractor that's there and report back. Like they just become so involved in a way that nobody asked them to be involved.
Yeah, squatters, another big one. When houses are undergoing long turnovers, getting squatters. I mean, no real construction horror stories.
Or just every day is a horror story for you.
Yeah. I mean, just property management in general is full of horror stories. But yeah, I mean, people that don't use the house as a primary residence is always sometimes a recipe for disaster, where people use it as a second home or a vacation home, or it's a rental part of the year. There's always surprises when the home's left unattended for a long time. People hire a property manager and they expect that they're going to go by every few weeks. Like that's usually not the case.
Yeah.
There's valet and other services for that. But, we're a little fortunate in Southern California, but especially if you live in a colder climate, like you have to deal with pipes freezing, snow buildup, just homes that are left unattended. Insurance companies don't cover a lot of these things when the home's uninhabited for 30 days or more, not been checked on. Just not using things.
I'm dealing with pests.
Homes don't like being vacant. They
when
start
homes
falling
vacant,
apart when they're not used.
attic rodent activity. just that the pests will take over.
Yeah.
I have sellers. If we're listing your house and you're moving out of state, you're not going to be there. You need to get a pest control company on a regular basis until we have it occupied again, or you're going to have a $10,000 attic issue.
Yeah. One of the things I always say is generally go to the furthest or the highest bathroom, turn on the water, flush all the toilets, run the run the shower, make sure water's going through your home, going through the drains, water's flowing out. You got to keep things running.
You taught me that years ago, so I still to this day I'll on vacant listings run in, flush toilets, do all of that, run around.
Yeah. I used to always tell my clients when I did management too, I said, hey, things that you never thought would break are going to break, right? Like you're going to wonder how that broke. And I may not have the answer for you too, but things break. And people don't live the same way that everyone else does. People use things differently. People way more than other people. People have more people in the house than you may have had. Like there's things that are going to break that you're going to be completely dumbfounded.
They're going to live in it differently. How often do your friends call you? Like I call my nurse cousin all the time when there's a medical thing. Are friends calling you all the time when something breaks in their house?
So I'm pretty handy too. So sadly, they don't, and I'm also a really nice guy. So when they call me and tell me
Super
something,
awesome.
I don't know if they're expecting this, but I'm going to go over there and fix it. Like I will go down there myself and do it. So I don't know if they're asking me for advice on it. They wanted me to do it, but I'm showing up either way.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to start calling you. And you're going to answer.
Yeah, like that are
because you'll know I need something.
I'll drive to San Diego. I'm like, don't touch it. I'll be right there.
I'll be right there.
Yeah.
Are you down for some rapid fire questions?
Sure.
Daniel, do you want to wrap anything up before I pelt him with some questions?
Number one thing that you recommend to clients, and number one thing that you recommend to buyers and sellers as clients, and to the property manager clients you work with.
Yeah. So property managers who I love working with, my goal is to empower them, whether that's through communication, giving them all the information they need, giving them a good price that they can present to their client. Like they got to look good for their client. Like they're the end user. So if they bring my bid and it has my name on it, trusty, and it's 10 times more than the next guy, that doesn't make them look good and makes me look worse. Or if it is, I know it's going to be higher because I see things that other people probably didn't see. I'm going to call the manager. Hey, I'm going to explain this to you so you can relay this to your client. Hey, I see XYZ that's probably wasn't in your original scope, but here's why my price is higher. Like I would call the other contractor and just confirm that these things are also on his bid or top of mind, and really bring that to your client. So you can tell your client, hey, this one's more, but this is what I know about the house. And then they look really good. Giving them the update before they ask for it. So a lot of property managers use some sort of like maintenance portal. Keeping that thing so up to date, like keeps their job so easy. They don't have to chase me down. I've worked at management companies where they would have a dedicated person whose job all day was to call vendors. When is this scheduled? Have you called the tenant? What's the deal? Where's the invoice? And it's just such a headache. Some of these vendors, like, yeah, they do good work at a low price, but you can't get a hold of them. Where's the invoice? I'm trying to charge the tenants back for this. My owner is trying to do their end of year financials. This doesn't add up. So all those pain points that I've had to deal with personally as a manager, I try to alleviate those through our service and just be in front of it. And people do things, especially in property management, without really thinking about why they're doing it. So why am I having to call this vendor and follow up with them? Why do I need him to know when he scheduled it? Like, why doesn't he just do that himself? And when I go in and do these things for them, they're like, why doesn't everyone do that? Like makes it so much easier. And it really helps because it's difficult to do those things. It's not easy. Like it's more work on my end and on my team's end. But at the end, it really pays off and it really makes their job easier, which leads to more business for me.
Well, it makes sense that you have the property manager background and now you're GC with a construction company or GM with a construction company, because you're able to do you're who you would have wished you could have hired.
Yeah, imagine before the ChatGPT area, I used to have to call my contractors and be like, hey, explain this to me like I'm 6 years old because I don't understand it. You know how proposals can be very cryptic sometimes. What is this really? What am I paying for here? Like, what is this tune-up? Like, what's in the tune-up? Like, why is it $1,000? Explain these things to me So, again, back to the empowering thing, that's how I try and do this. Like, hey, yeah, you can use ChatGPT, but let me save you that step, right? Like that's just more effort on your end. Let me just put this all in plain English for you, include photos, maybe even options. Hey, do it this way, do it this way. Here's the different outcomes, here's different prices. If I was a homeowner or property manager, what's the next question I would ask? Let me make sure I put that in the bid. Everyone's always going to ask, like, how much is it? What are you going to do? And when can you start? So I put that, hey, if you approve this today, I can start on Wednesday, right? The other way that everyone's aligned, people think that like you can do things the same day. And it's, maybe some people that are sitting around can do that, but generally 1 to 2 business days is pretty acceptable. But, if I were to get a bid and I tell you, oh, I can't start for 2 weeks, like that's a surprise. And that's unexpected. So I want to get out in front of those things.
Okay, you ready for rapid fire?
Yeah.
Most overrated home upgrade.
Swimming pool.
Ooh, I like that. Most underrated home maintenance item.
Water pressure.
Oh, we didn't even talk about water pressure. One thing every homeowner should inspect every year.
Underneath their kitchen sink.
Biggest waste of money spent on homes.
Duct cleaning.
Ooh, that's a good one too. Favorite item remodeled to make a difference.
Kitchen.
What repair gets ignored the most?
I would just say overall roofs are the most neglected. It's not something you look at every day.
No, you don't pay attention until it's leaking.
You don't pay attention until it leaks.
And then one piece of advice that you would give a first-time landlord getting ready to rent their house.
Expect the unexpected. Things are going to break. You're going to spend more on repairs than you ever did when you lived there. The things that you lived with, other people aren't okay with that. You got to imagine like, especially things like doors and just opening windows. Like, oh, it's a little difficult. Like, imagine if an 80-year-old lady moved in here. Can she open that window? Like, it has to be like universal for use and ease of use and functionality.
Yes, I love it. Okay, my biggest takeaway is people need to maintain their homes and homes that they're not living in. It's not out of sight, out of mind. That home is still there. You're renting it out. It's still having all the problems, if not more.
Yeah. People ask, like, what should they budget? And it's really difficult. Like, some people say, 1% of the home's value if it's a newer home, 2 to 3 if it's a little bit older. A good property manager doesn't really just so much as like plan maintenance, more so, a good property manager will kind of plan out the maintenance. But as far as the budgeting, like maintenance isn't on a set timeline, right? There's end of life for roofs and appliances and major fixtures like your HVAC system and water heater. And really just kind of budgeting on those based on those lifetimes of major things is going to be the biggest way to track it.
Another thing I want to put into that, and this is an issue we deal with frequently, it's not just about the cheapest price. Like we have some clients who will literally shop for days just to find the cheapest price to save a few dollars. But at the end of the day, the tenant's pissed off. They're not wanting to renew. They're angry at everybody. Sometimes you're having to credit rent because the home was technically uninhabitable. And the client's saving $20 on a water heater, but that tenant hasn't had hot water in a week. So things like that, like have a trusted vendor. I remember one time we had a client who had an apartment building who found the cheapest possible plumber to do a repipe. The guy went and took out all of the drain pipes and disappeared. Never came back. And then afterward, we went back to the owner and said, hey, yeah, I'm like, now we have to hire remediation or environmental company to come and clean up all the brown water. It's a biohazard, and now we have to pay an actual contractor to come fix it. It cost them like 2 or 3 times more than the original bid. That was a great bid from the beginning. So being cheap will cost you more money.
You get what you pay for.
Especially first-time landlords don't get the concept that they're running a business now, and they have a customer, a tenant, who's not going to wait, weeks for certain repairs and go without certain services or areas of the home. Can I do a quick rant on my number one pet peeve? Both
Always.
as a manager and as a
hearing pet peeves. Yeah.
Touch-up painting.
Why?
When I see touch-up painting, I die on the inside. Touch-up painting, that's like what you do when you do a big remodel, and then at the very end, they go in and touch up where your tradesman dinged up the walls. That's touch-up painting. You have fresh paint with the matching paint. That's touch-up painting. When someone's lived in the house for a couple of years, the paint on the wall, even if it was new, is faded. Touching up paint, like you've seen, like when you go down like that LA freeway and there's graffiti and someone's touched up the paint,
Yeah.
it's spotty everywhere and it never looks good. And again, this is my brand. Like I want you to feel comfortable with my work. So many times in the past, I've done touch up painting, and people go in there like, "What is this?" I'm
You're like, it's terrible.
Touch up painting, like I don't even bid it anymore. I tell people, no, I don't do it. Because what happens is you're going to be upset, right? I'm going to have to go back anyways and do what I really wanted to do the first time. The home's going to sit. So this is a rental or a sale property. People are going to see that and be like, you don't care about the home. Spend the extra couple $100. If we're talking about a $3,000 rental, that's $100 a day that it sits. Like you would have made that back on the few extra $100 you would have spent painting corner to corner. And it looks so much better.
And also, too, if you have the tenant who is okay with the dirty home, the touch-up paint, everything else, what they're going to do to the home while they live there is going to be so much worse.
I've never thought of that. I've never thought of the tenant that's okay with a beat-up home, what that's going to look like.
They're going to beat it up so much worse than what it originally was. Absolutely.
You want someone with high standards.
Yeah, the touch-up paint, like Home Depot, does not paint match. And there's multiple things. The paint fades, the sheen fades, it picks up dirt. Paint matching is a total scam.
The nap on the roller could be different. Just so many different things. It's just, that's my biggest pet peeve.
You hate touch-up paint.
I'm guilty of it. When I was a property manager, I'm like, just touch the paint, because I thought that like I was providing so much value to the client by just coming in so cheap.
Yeah.
Hey, we actually don't need to paint, owner. It's only $600 versus $3,000 to repaint the whole thing. Little did I know that the feedback I would get from the showings is like, "Are you going to paint that wall?"
Yeah,
like
we did.
Did the tenant do this? And they're having to go back anyways, or you're losing that money. It's just nowadays what I tell property managers, to relate to the owners, it's like, hey, the house needs painting, and let the painter decide what areas can be touched up. Now, because some areas can be. Right, especially like bathrooms that are already like a semi-gloss, like those are usually a lot easier to match rather than like a large main wall that gets a ton of light and there's tons of marks on it. You're not going to do that LA freeway graffiti pattern up, and that's what it looks like to me. And I cringe when I hear those words, or I see it on a work order, or just touch up painting. I got nightmares about it.
This is good to know. Okay, we are shockingly over an hour. Are there any other main points you want to get across? I feel like this was super valuable.
No, yeah. I want to talk about home warranties and that scam.
I know. I feel like we need to do a whole episode on home warranties. Some are good,
also,
some are not.
For the listeners, full disclosure, I do have ownership in Trustie. So full disclosure there, and just want to be transparent.
And I do not. Full disclosure there. Okay, Dave, you've been awesome.
This is a lot of fun, guys.
That's a wrap on this episode of AllView 360, All Things Real Estate. If you found this helpful, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone navigating their own real estate journey. Connect with us anytime on Instagram at AllView 360 and on LinkedIn at AllView Real Estate. Until next time, stay curious and keep your perspective 360.